Ever feel like that same old advice, invest for the long haul, just doesn't quite click? Well, today we're doing things a little differently. We're going to dive into Francisca Serrano's Escuela de Trading and explore, well, the world of short-term investing.
Yeah, and it's not about throwing patience out the window or anything. It's more like recognizing that there are, multiple paths you can take to grow that money of yours. And the excerpts you pulled from Serrano's book, they really highlight how she guides her students toward those, well, potentially faster returns.
Yeah, and that's what really caught my eye too. It's less about like getting rich overnight and more about, well, understanding how this approach, when you've got the right knowledge,
Yeah.
can be a real option. It's like Serrano isn't promising some get-rich-quick scheme, but she is teaching you how to, I don't know, maybe craft your own financial potions.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like she really hammers home the point that this is about skill, not just dumb luck. She even challenges that assumption we all hear, that long-term investing is always the safest bet. She brings up examples like, what was it, a Bengoa, GoEx, even Banco Popular, companies you'd think were like rock solid. But even they face some, pretty serious downturns, makes you think twice.
It really does. And then she dives into how different the whole landscape is these days. Fintech, big data, business angels. It's like she's saying, hey, the financial world is changing rapidly. Shouldn't your investment strategies, evolve too?
Precisely. Take something like crowdfunding and crowdlending. Serrano uses these really interesting examples like Kickstarter, probably something a lot of us have used, or even Airbnb. It's like she's showing how even the things we think we know can have these like hidden investment angles.
Okay, so we're definitely talking about a whole new world of investing here. And speaking of new, how can we forget about cryptocurrency? Even, I'll admit, someone who, I guess, finds comfort in the familiar, even I can't ignore all the buzz around, well, Bitcoin.
And it's not just hype. It's becoming a real force in the market. And Serrano does a really good job of like breaking down exactly what Bitcoin is, even using this really interesting story about someone buying pizza with it back in like 2010. Can you imagine if they still had those Bitcoins?
No, that's food for thought. It really shows you the potential, but also, how unpredictable this whole world can be.
It's a perfect example, really. Those pizzas, back then, they cost 10,000 Bitcoins. Back then, it wasn't much, but now, oh man, that's life-changing money.
Mind-blowing, right? But I think, and Serrano reminds us of this too, before anyone runs off to buy a digital wallet or whatever, knowledge is key here. Whether you're buying directly, mining it, whatever method you choose, diving into crypto, it takes research, careful research.
And this ties directly into, I think, one of her most important concepts, psycho trading. Think about it. Those early Bitcoin adopters, the ones who held on even when things were shaky, they had to, master their
Oh,
emotions.
yeah, the fear and greed, right?
Yeah.
That gets us every time. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Hmm.
Made a purchase because we didn't want to miss out, or sold something when we panicked, only to regret it later.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, she doesn't just tell us to be more rational. She actually gives you these practical techniques for managing those emotions. She compares it to like training for a marathon.
Yeah.
It's not about sprinting as fast as you can. It's about pacing yourself, discipline, mental stamina, all of that.
I do like how she brings back that example of the kids' routines. It's so true, though, isn't it? Consistency, it creates stability. Whether we're talking about getting the kids to bed on time or, our trading habits. But this whole thing, this whole approach, it requires a certain, well, mindset, right? So
Yeah.
how would you describe this trader's mindset that Serrano talks about?
Yeah, it's like she says you got to be objective, right? It's about like separating your ego from all those trades you make, not getting too high on the wins or, too down in the dumps when you have a loss. It's more about seeing the market for what it is, not what we, hope it to be or wish it would be.
So it's like we're approaching it with a clear head, a calm heart, and like a really well thought out plan.
Exactly. And that means, really understanding yourself too, right? Serrano, she outlines all these different trading styles: scalping, day trading, swing trading, even position trading.
Yeah.
And they each have their own like rhythm and risk.
Oh, interesting. So it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. There's a trading style out there for every personality type.
Exactly. She actually encourages readers to like experiment a bit,
Yeah.
find what really clicks with their personality, their lifestyle, all of that. She wants us to be what she calls like self-aware traders, play to those strengths and, well, figure out how to manage those weaknesses we all have.
I like that. It's refreshing. You have this emphasis on really making it your own. She's not just trying to create a bunch of robots who are all following the same rigid rules. It's more about encouraging people to actually, well, discover their own way, their own path within the market.
Yeah, and a big part of that whole discovery process is, learning from other people who have been there. Serrano actually shares a bunch of stories from other traders who have found success. And the interesting thing is they all come from these really different backgrounds, and they all have different trading styles too. Like she talks of this one guy who owns a hotel, and then there's another one who's a fisherman. It just goes to show you, success in this world, it's not just for those Wall Street hotshots. Anyone can do it.
I love that. It makes this whole idea of, achieving financial freedom,
Yeah.
makes it feel so much more attainable, relatable even.
Hmm.
It's less about, trying to copy someone else's success story exactly, and more about, well, finding what inspires you and then using that to kind of forge your own path.
Exactly. She wants her readers to see those stories as like fuel for their own journey, not like a set of blueprints to follow blindly, you know?
So it's all about really owning it, right? Not just blindly following some cookie cutter strategy. It's about really understanding yourself and developing your own approach, your own unique edge in the market. But even if you've got the right mindset, the tools, the inspiration, you still need somewhere to start, right? What does Serrano say about how people can, well, actually get started with this whole trading thing?
Well, she actually devotes a whole chapter to the nuts and bolts of it all. She walks you through like
Mhm.
choosing the right broker, finding one that's reputable and properly regulated, someone who will be a good partner for you on this journey.
It's kind of like finding a good mechanic, isn't it? You need someone you really trust, someone who will keep your car, or in this case, your portfolio, running smoothly.
Exactly. And then you've got to think about the trading platform, right? She gives you a really clear roadmap for like choosing the right software, the one that really fits how you want to trade, setting up those charts and just getting comfortable with all those, indicators. It can seem overwhelming at first, but she really breaks it down.
So it's like any other skill. You got to have the right tools for the job, right? Like a carpenter wouldn't use a hammer if he needs to saw wood,
Mm.
and a trader shouldn't use a platform that just doesn't align with, well, their strategy and how they like to work.
Exactly. She even suggests that people try it out with a demo account first before they actually, start live trading with real money on the line.
That's actually really smart advice. Kind of like, using one of those flight simulators before you get behind the controls of an actual airplane, right? It gives you a chance to get used to everything, see how it all works, build up your confidence before you will actually take off into the real market.
Yeah, you've got to build up that muscle memory, get a feel for how your decisions actually impact, well, the outcome.
Okay, so we've got the tools, we've got our practice in, but there's this whole other layer to trading, isn't there? That gut feeling. I mean, how do you even start to understand that?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Serrano calls it psycho trading. She actually dedicates a huge chunk of the book to this because, well, let's be real. We've all made decisions based on emotion, especially when it comes to money.
Oh, absolutely we have. I mean, fear, greed, even just being impatient. How many times have you, I don't know, bought something you didn't really need because it was on sale? That's emotion driven, right?
It totally is. And you know what? Those same emotions, they can totally sabotage our best laid plans, especially in the trading world.
It's like we can have all the fancy charts and indicators in the world, but if our emotions are the ones actually making decisions, well, that's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
It really is. It's like giving a toddler the keys to your car, And Serrano, she gets it, which is why she actually calls it psycho trading. She dedicates a huge part of her book to this whole idea because, let's face it, we've all been there. We've all made decisions based on, pure emotion, especially when it comes to our money.
Oh, absolutely. Fear and greed are powerful motivators. I mean, think about those impulse buys we make, or that time you sold an investment because you panicked, convinced it was all going downhill. Talk
Yeah.
about emotions running wild.
Exactly. And the thing is, those same emotions, they can totally sabotage even the most well thought out trading plan. You could have the perfect strategy, but if fear or greed takes over, it's all out the window.
It's like she says, it's like handing the steering wheel to a toddler. So how do we, I don't know, how do we rein in those emotions? How do we get them under control? Because it's not as easy as just saying, okay, I'm going to be rational now.
Right. It definitely takes more than that. And Serrano, she actually gives you some really practical techniques you can use to actually manage those emotions. It's like she compares it to training for a marathon. It's not about going all out right away. It's about pacing yourself, having that discipline, building up your mental stamina so you can go the distance.
I love that she brings back that children's routine example
Yeah.
because It's so true. Consistency, it creates stability, whether we're talking about, getting the kids to bed on time or our trading habits. But this whole thing, this whole approach to trading, it really does require a certain, I don't know, a certain mindset, doesn't it? So how would you define that trader's mindset that Serrano talks about?
I think it really boils down to one word: objectivity. It's about separating your ego from those trades you make, not getting too high on those wins or letting the losses completely derail you. It's more about being able to step back and see the market for what it is, not for what you hope it'll be or what you wish it would be.
It's about approaching it with a clear head, a calm heart, and like a really well-defined plan.
Exactly. And I think a big part of that is, well, it's about really understanding yourself, right? Your own strengths and weaknesses, what you're comfortable with. And Serrano, she actually outlines all these different trading styles. You've got scalping, day trading, swing trading, even position trading. And each one, well, they each have their own like rhythm and their own level of risk.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a trading style out there for, like, every personality.
Exactly. She really encourages readers to like go out there and experiment a bit,
Right.
figure out what really clicks with their personality, their lifestyle, their risk tolerance, all of that. She even has this term for it. She wants us to be like self-aware traders. Play to those strengths and then figure out how to manage those weaknesses we all have.
I love that. It's so refreshing. This emphasis on really personalizing your approach. She's not just trying to create a bunch of, like, robots who are all following in the same rigid rules. It's more about, encouraging people to actually discover their own way, their own individual path, within the market.
Yeah, and part of that discovery process, a big part is learning from other people who have been there. And Serrano, she does a really great job of sharing stories from other traders, people who have actually found success. And it's so interesting because they all come from these completely different backgrounds and they all have completely different trading styles. Like she talks about this one guy who's like a hotel owner, and then there's another one who's a fisherman. And it just goes to show you success in trading, it's not just for, those Wall Street hotshots. Anyone can learn and potentially succeed if they put in the work.
I love that. It's so inspiring because it makes this whole idea of, achieving financial freedom through trading. It makes it feel so much more attainable, more relatable. It's not about trying to perfectly copy someone else's success story. It's more about finding the things that inspire you
Yeah.
and using that to kind of forge your own path.
Exactly. Serrano, I think she wants her readers to see those stories as like fuel for their own journey, not as, a set of blueprints that you have to follow perfectly.
It's about taking ownership. It's about not just blindly following some cookie cutter strategy. It's about really understanding yourself and then developing your own approach, your own edge in the market. But even if you've got the right mindset, you've got the tools, the inspiration, you still need somewhere to start, right?
Yeah.
So what does Serrano say about how people can actually get started with this whole trading thing?
Well, she dedicates a whole chapter to like the nuts and bolts of it all. She walks you through choosing a broker, the one who's going to be like your trusted partner on this journey, finding one that's reputable, properly regulated, all of that.
It's like finding a good mechanic. You need someone you can trust to keep your car running smoothly. Or in this case, it's your portfolio.
Exactly. And then there's the trading platform. And Serrano, she gives you a really clear roadmap for like how to actually choose the right software, the one that fits your trading style, how to set up your charts, even how to start familiarizing yourself with all those different indicators. I mean, it can seem overwhelming at first, but she really does break it down.
So it's like with any other skill, you have to have the right tools for the job, right? I mean, a carpenter, he's not going to use a hammer if he needs to saw wood, right?
Yeah.
And a trader shouldn't be using a platform that doesn't align with how they like to trade and, well, their overall strategy.
Exactly. And she even suggests, she actually highly recommends that people practice on a demo account first before they jump into live trading with, real money at stake.
That's such good advice, though. It's like using one of those flight simulators, before you actually get behind the controls of a real airplane. It gives you that chance to get comfortable with everything, build up your confidence before you actually, take off into the real market.
Exactly. You need to build up that muscle memory, get a feel for how your decisions actually impact the outcome. And a demo account is the perfect way to do that without any of the risk.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. We've covered so much from like the very basics of trading to, well, the more complex stuff. But if there's one big takeaway for our listeners, it's that Financial freedom, it really is within reach. It's not some far-off dream. It's a real possibility for anyone who's willing to put in the effort, to
Hmm.
learn, to adapt, and to really find their own unique approach to the market.
Absolutely. Serrano's book, it's more than just a how-to guide. It's a call to action. It's about realizing that we have choices when it comes to our finances. We have the power to take control and to create a better future for ourselves.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to just accept the status quo, right?
Okay.
We can educate ourselves, we can empower ourselves, and we can take those steps, even small ones, to start building a better future. A more financially secure future, one that's aligned with our own goals and our own values.
And this deep dive, it was just a taste of what Serrano covers in Escuela de Trading. There's so much more to discover, so we really encourage everyone listening, don't just stop here. Go check out the book, explore the resources that Serrano talks about, and most importantly, never stop learning, never stop
Hmm.
growing. Yeah.
Exactly. The journey of 1,000 miles or even 1,000 trades, it always starts with that first step. Until next time, everyone, happy investing.